Hello, my friends. So, I haven't been reading in a while. I'm so sorry about that. We're going to finish the chapter on Independence Day that I had started a while ago. In case you need a refresher, Almanzo was going to ask his dad for a nickel to see if he could buy some lemonade. So, his father was talking to his friend, and Almanzo was waiting for him to stop talking. "What is it, son?" Father asked. Almanzo was scared. "Father," he said. "Well, son?" "Father," Almanzo said, would you give me a nickel?" He stood there while Father and Mr. Paddock looked at him, and he wished he could get away. Finally Father asked, "What for?" Almanzo looked down at his moccasins and muttered, "Frank had a nickel. He bought pink lemonade." "Well," Father said slowly, "if Frank treated you, it's only right you should treat him." Father put his hand in his pocket. Then he stopped and asked, "Did Frank treat you to lemonade?" Almanzo wanted so badly to get the nickel that he nodded. Then he squirmed and said, "No, Father." Father looked at him a long time. Then he took out his wallet and opened it, and slowly he took out a round, big, silver $50. He asked, "Almanzo, do you know what this is?" "$50," Almanzo answered. "Yes, but do you know what $50 is?" Almanzo didn't know it was anything but $50. "It's work, son," Father said. "That's what money is. It's hard work." Mr. Paddock chuckled. "The boy's too young, Wilder," he said. "You can't make a youngster understand that." "Almanzo's smarter than you think," said Father. Almanzo didn't understand at all. He wished he could get away, but Mr. Paddock was looking at Father just as Frank looked at Almanzo when he double-dared him, and Father had said that Almanzo was smart, so Almanzo tried to look like a smart boy. Father asked, "You know how to raise potatoes, Almanzo?" "Yes," Almanzo said. "Say you have a seed potato in the spring. What do you do with it?" "You cut it up," said Almanzo. "Go on, son." "Then you harrow. First you manure the field and plow it. Then you harrow and mark the ground, and plant the potatoes and plow them and hoe them. You plow and hoe them twice." "That's right, son." "And then?" "Then you dig them and put them down cellar." "Yes." "Then you pick them over all winter. You throw out all the little ones and the rotten ones. Come spring, you load them up and haul them here to Malone and you sell them. And if you get a good price, son, how much do you get to show for all that work? How much do you get for half a bushel of potatoes?" $50, Almanzo said. "Yes," said Father. "That's what's in this $50, Almanzo. The work that raised half a bushel of potatoes, isn't it?" Almanzo looked at the round piece of money that Father held up. It looked small compared with all that work. "You can have it, Almanzo," Father said. Almanzo could hardly believe his ears. Father gave him the heavy $50. "It's yours," said Father. "You could buy a suckling pig with it if you want to. You could raise it, and it would raise a litter of pigs worth $4, $5 apiece. Or you can trade that $50 for lemonade and drink it up. You do as you want. It's your money." Almanzo forgot to say thank you. He held the $50 a minute, then he put his hand in his pocket and went back to the boys by the lemonade stand. The man was calling out, step this way, ice-cold lemonade, pink lemonade, only 5 cents a glass, only half a dime, ice-cold pink lemonade, the 20th part of a dollar." Frank asked Almanzo, "Where's the nickel?" "He didn't give me a nickel," said Almanzo. And Frank yelled, Yeah, I told you he wouldn't. I told you so." "He gave me $50, said Almanzo. The boys wouldn't believe it till he showed them. Then they crowded around, waiting for him to spend it. He showed it to them all and put it back in his pocket. "I'm going to look around," he said, "and buy me a good little suckling pig." The band came marching down the street, and they all ran along beside it. The flag was gloriously waving in front. Then came the buglers blowing, and the fifers tootling, and the drummer rattling the drumsticks on the drum. Up the street and down the street went the band, with all the boys following it, and then it stopped in the square by the brass cannons. Hundreds of people were there, crowding to watch. The cannons sat on their haunches, pointing their long barrels upward. The band kept on playing. Two men kept shouting, "Stand back, stand back!" and other men were pouring black powder into the cannons' muzzles and pushing it down with wads of cloth on long rods. The iron rods had two handles, and two men pushed and pulled on them, driving the black powder down the brass barrels. Then all the boys ran to pull grass and weeds along the railroad tracks. They carried them by armfuls to the cannons, and the men crowded the weeds into the cannons' muzzles and drove them down with the long rods. A bonfire was burning by the railroad tracks, and long iron rods were heating in it. When all the weeds and grass had been packed tight against the powder in the cannons, a man took a little more powder in his hand and carefully filled the two little touch holes in the barrels. Now everyone was shouting, "Stand back! Stand back!" Mother took hold of Almanzo's arm and made him come away with her. He told her, "Ah, Mother, they're only loaded with powder and weeds. I won't get hurt, Mother. I'll be careful, honest." But she made him come away from the cannons. Two men took the long iron rods from the fire. Everybody was still, watching. Standing as far behind the cannons as they could, the two men stretched out the rods and touched their red-hot tips to the touch holes. A little flame like a candle flame flickered up from the powder. The little flame stood there burning. Nobody breathed. Then, boom! The cannons leaped backward. The air was full of flying grass and weeds. Almanzo ran with all the other boys to feel the warm muzzles of the cannons. Everybody was exclaiming about what a loud noise they had made. "That's the noise that made the redcoats run," Mr. Paddock said to Father. "Maybe," Father said, tugging his beard, "but it was muskets that won the revolution. And don't forget, it was axes and plows that made this country." "That's so, come to think of it," Mr. Paddock said. Independence Day was over, the cannons had been fired, and there was nothing more to do but hitch up the horses and drive home to do the chores. That night, when they were going to the house with milk, Almanzo said to Father, "Father, how was it axes and plows that made this country? Didn't we fight England for it?" "We fought for independence, son," Father said, "but all the land our forefathers had was a little strip of country." "We fought for independence, son," Father said, "but all the land our forefathers had was a little strip of country, here between the mountains and the ocean. All the way from here west was Indian country, and Spanish and French and English country. It was farmers that took all that country and made it America." "How?" Almanzo asked. "Well, son, the Spaniards were soldiers and high and mighty gentlemen that only wanted gold, and the French were fur traders wanting to make quick money, and England was busy fighting wars. But we were farmers, son. We wanted the land. It was farmers that went over the mountains and cleared the land and settled it and farmed it and hung on to their farms. This country goes 3,000 miles west now. It goes way out beyond Kansas and beyond the great American desert, over mountains bigger than these mountains, and down to the Pacific Ocean. It's the biggest country in the world, and it was farmers who took all that country and made it America, son. Don't you ever forget that." Next chapter is called Summertime. See you soon.